Okay, we are introduced to our two main characters for the story. We have Joe and we have Hamilton, and the two of them have very unique careers. Hamilton happens to be an anthropomorphic artist who does, kind of takes commissions and all that shit. And he mainly does stuff in like the kind of Looney Tunes style, although he does mix it up occasionally when he's desperate for money, and we've all been there. And Joe happens to work in one of those kind of Gordon Ramsay kitchen nightmare kind of places, where he cooks up the greasiest food you could possibly imagine. And despite how greasy and disgusting it may seem, it is apparently the best tasting food you could possibly imagine, and Joe has a real aptitude for it. Joe and Hamilton are the best of friends, and despite them working their absolute hardest to earn a living, they are in the worst financial situation you could possibly imagine, and they are barely making enough money to support themselves despite how hard they work. That's the cost of living crisis, it takes no prisoners. And because of the dreaded cost of living crisis preventing Joe and Hamilton to get a secure financial status and actually make enough money to support themselves, the two of them are in desperate need for money, and one day, wandering the streets of Prague or wherever, they are currently strategizing a way to make money, and then suddenly, Hamilton has a brilliant idea. Hamilton turns to Joe and says, "Hey, what if we were to combine our skills? What if you were to make a restaurant that sells greasy, disgusting food, and I use my art to create animatronic, anthropomorphic robots to entertain the guests and create this kind of off-brand Chuck E. Cheese kind of thing?" And Joe hears this idea and he says, "Hamilton, mate, you're a bloody genius." And so Joe uses his last remaining savings to buy the Kitchen Nightmares restaurant he works at, and thus the two of them begin their journey to make their own flippin' anthro restaurant kind of thing. Actually, what exactly can Chuck E. Cheese be classified as? Because it's like a restaurant, but it's also got the robots, so it's like a kind of entertain... I'll Google it after this video. And so Joe and Hamilton begin their work on the restaurant. They get the advertising, they set up all like the food stuff and all that, and things are looking pretty good. Unfortunately, Hamilton doesn't have the mean to make the animatronics. I mean, he doesn't know how to make the costumes, and he can't really think of any other alternative, and so they've hit a brick wall. But luckily, Joe has a very quick solution. He gets out his phone, and Joe rings up his other friend, Mo. That's not going to get confusing, is it? Now, Joe's friend Mo happens to be a robotics technician, and he agrees to help them and starts working on the animatronics, and things start to finally look up for their new restaurant place. After months and months of hard work and advertising and all the other stuff that's required to make a restaurant of this caliber, Joe and Hamilton finally make the restaurant, and they place it in some dingy corner of the city, and thus Freddy Fazbear's Pizzeria is born. And surprisingly enough, despite the kind of low-budget quality of the restaurant, it is a complete hit with the general public. The public, they love the food, the greasy pizzas, everyone loves the quirky characters. It is a complete and total success. And because of it, Joe and Hamilton finally get a stable financial status after like 2 years, and they make a shed load of cash. A few months pass and Freddy Fazbear's Pizzeria continues making money, and Joe decides to employ the help of a new security guard called Mike because the animatronics are made up of like valuable technology and they don't want people stealing it. But meanwhile, because Hamilton is not used to making so much money, Hamilton starts to go a bit off the deep end. He starts to go a bit arrogant and money crazed and just kind of really takes a nosedive. He's really not doing well. And because of Hamilton's unfortunate blind descent into greed, he does a very bad decision. He starts taking the earnings from Joe. Now, after a few weeks of Hamilton doing this to Joe, Joe finally finds out, and he is not happy. He goes up to Hamilton and he's like, "Blood, what the bloody hell do you think you're doing? You're robbing me, pretty much. You're basically stealing from me." But because Hamilton is just so like up in his head and like completely obsessed with making money, he's all like, "Joe, I'm gonna be honest. What exactly do you do round here? This was all my hard work. I mean, what do? You just hand out leaflets or something? I mean, what do you do here?" It's at this point that Joe and Hamilton's friendship starts to take an unfortunate turn. Because Joe doesn't want his own best friend stealing from him, Joe decides to leave, and he is utterly heartbroken and just filled with all kinds of emotions. Anger, sadness, but mostly anger. And in his blind rage, Joe decides to make a very bad decision. He decides to take revenge on Hamilton for what he's done. And in doing so, he ends up ringing up his friend Mo. That's the guy who made the animatronics in the first place, in case you forgot. And he asks him to do something raucous as a way to get revenge on Hamilton for being a greedy little bastard. One night, when Mike is on his night watch and he's not really paying much attention, he's on his phone watching Crunchyroll or something, Mo sneaks in and he goes up to the animatronics. And at this point, Mo's true nature is finally revealed. Mo is actually one of the most wanted criminals of all time who used his proficiency at creating robots to terrorize the world. Don't ask me why Joe is friends with basically a terrorist. I mean, I don't know, that happens sometimes. And so, Mo reprograms the animatronics and puts them in kill mode. And this is where the story takes a quick and drastic turn. Mo has successfully transformed the animatronics into crazy killer robots, and they start to terrorize Mike during the night. And at first, it looks as though that the animatronics only go crazy during night times. But unfortunately, that is not the case, and things start to go really wrong during the day at Freddy Fazbear's Pizzeria. The animatronics start terrorizing the customers. They start causing all kinds of chaos. They start going ham. Freddy punches someone in the face. Chica smacks someone over the head with a frying pan. Foxy sets the kitchen on fire, and that's why he's out of order, and that's why you can't see the kitchen in the first game. Yeah. Things are definitely not looking good for the Freddy Fazbear's Pizza, and the customers have started to notice all the animatronics going crazy, and they've started to the publicity started to decrease. It's starting to get a bad name, and Hamilton starts to freak out. But unfortunately, since Hamilton is like a scrawny 22-year-old, and these are like he's going up against 7-foot like titanium-laced robots, there's not much he can do. But luckily, Mike has a quick and easy solution. Seeing how crazy the robots all are for himself, Mike decides to take action, and he does pretty much what everyone would do in this situation. He rings up the police and gets like a full-on SWAT team, mobile task force kind of thing to like storm the restaurant, and they have a big like epic clash with all like the animatronics, and they're defeated, and it looks as though Freddy Fazbear's Pizzeria is finished. The animatronics are destroyed, the restaurant is destroyed, and people like hate Freddy Fazbear's Pizzeria because the robots were basically attacking them, and it looks like Hamilton is once again penniless. And Mike is also out of a job. Although it looks like that the chaos is finally finished, Hamilton is far from done, and he has another idea. Okay, so I'm recording this a few days after the day I made the Five Nights at Freddy's Lore remade video, and in this video I was going to include me talking about and like improvising all of like, is the camera lagging? Please don't tell me the camera's lagging. Okay, the camera stopped lagging, that's good. So essentially what I was going to do, I was going to like improvise the other 3 games, but unfortunately the odds were stacked against me on this one, because not only did I have a cold, and my cold worsened at the time, I completely overestimated my abilities and how long it would take to like format and draw all of like the events in the story, all that kind of thing. And I just didn't get round to it, and it would take too long, and I wanted to get it uploaded as soon as possible, so I thought it would just be best to, just do the first game. And my videos have been quite long recently, so I thought it would just be best to make something short and funny. So, with that in mind, yeah, that's it. That's the end of the video. But if this video does well, I might make another video doing like a big finale covering the other 2 games that I missed out on. But anyway, that's the video over. I hope you all have a splendid Halloween. I hope you get loads of sweets. I'm not getting any because apparently I'm too old for Halloween. I know, it's a tragedy. But yeah, have a delightful Halloween, and have an even more delightful day, and watch the roads when you're trick-or-treating.